to Thinking Out Loud with Lucy and Ali. I'm Alicia Morgado,
I'm Luciana Leo.
and this is brought to you by We Coach Foundation. So, this is definitely a work of love, not necessarily something that we feel very comfortable with. So, please bear with us. We really wanted to share our ideas and the fact that we're constantly thinking out loud and finding new ways to connect to the community and expand and grow. So, Lucy, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, so I'm Lucy and
Your full name.
Luciana Leo. I'm Luciana Leo. A lot of people know me though, but we're making it official, right?
Yes.
I've been working with special needs individuals and their families for over 20 years now. Um, I have an associate's and a bachelor's degree in medical science, and I have my master's in oriental medicine. I am currently back at school to do nursing. I want to be a nurse practitioner in neuro and psych to better serve the community that we're currently working with. And that's it. I am co-founder of We Coach Foundation with Alicia, which will touch bases in a little bit.
Yeah.
And
So, what was your inspiration? Like when you think back 20 years ago and you started this whole process and you started to get involved with the kids, and what was it that you were like, this is really what I want to do?
Hmm. Okay. Well, so while I was in school, I was working with a pediatrician. And at that point, 20 years ago is when there was a big way because of the uh, increase in numbers on the autism population. So 20 years ago, it was 151 in 150 children were diagnosed. And so the pediatrician that I was working with started, specializing on working with the children. And after seeing, you know, first patient, second patient, third patient, I was amazed by the individualities of the children and how we needed to personalize everything to address them. And I'm just fascinated by how the brain works. I mean, um, and I like the connections that I get to do with the children and adults. I started working with children, and now those children are young adults. I mean, there's some of the kids that I work with that they're 6 years old,
Mhm.
and now they're 20, So, yes, that's, I don't know. I was intrigued by it. What about you?
Well, I have my bachelor's in education, and then I went back and I got my master's in occupational therapy. I also have 20 plus years in the field, and I started off as a teacher. And my first class, I had a student where I did my substitute, and he loved the color black, and he lived under a desk. And at that point, I had no idea he didn't. And that child changed my perspective of, how to connect with children and what I wanted to do. And he was like my inspiration of how am I going to get him out of from underneath that desk and into all these other beautiful colors we have. And from that, I ended up growing and learning a lot about um, not only autism, but a lot of different disabilities. And um, they would just end up in my classroom.
Mm-hmm.
A teacher couldn't handle a kid, they would end up in my classroom. And then I ended up going into an IEP and I meet an OT. And I was like, wait a minute, you see one kid at a time and you work on all these different things. I love that. That's what I'm supposed to be doing. And so that's why I got my master's in OT, and I've never looked back. It's just been something that um, it's been fundamental to who I am.
Very nice. Now that you mentioned that, so when I was working with a pediatrician, one of the first few clients that she had, it was a boy, and he had seizures, and that was the first time that I saw a child that had epilepsy, and he also had an ASD diagnosis, and I just saw how desperate the parents were to just help him not to have so many seizures, or to he was very aggressive towards himself sometimes. It's a and s- when we intervene and doing the plan of care, we saw a change. And you see, I always said there is a specific look that children with seizures have on their eyes, and it always goes back to that one first kid that I met. And um and uh now thinking now, he's probably almost on his 30s,
Yeah.
and he did a big impact. And when I got to work on his plan of care with the pediatrician, and when we started seeing his progress and his smile, and the little things that just, you know they're tiny, but they were so important for the family and for him, and for it's just like, okay, it took this much work, but this little progress, it just made my day. It was just like, this is it. So that's when I decided, even after I got out of school, um I never did anything else but working with this population. So, and I don't see myself doing anything else but working with this population. So yeah, that's I always go back to him.
You know what's funny? One of my favorite stories, things looking back, like when you and I first
Mhm.
met, was we had one patient in common, and everybody's like, but I don't know how you guys became such not only good friends, but professionally, like we bounce off each other a
Mhm.
lot.
Mhm.
And it's because I think the perspective that we take is we focus on what we can do with what we have in front of us.
Mhm. Yep,
So
I agree.
one of the kids that I will never forget, he came into the office, and he was a big one. At that point, he was already, I want to say maybe 16, 17.
Okay.
When I tell you what you did, then you'll remember who I'm talking about. And you were drawing blood. And the
Mhm.
mom was like freaking out. Nobody can draw his blood. It's not going to work. Um, and you're like, no, don't worry about it. And you stand up, and the kid's like rocking, "Ugh," and you take his arm and you start rocking with him with the needle in your hand, and you're like, okay, here we go, now I'm gonna put it in. And I'm like, oh my god, how is she doing that? And they're both rocking, and you got the blood out.
Yeah, now I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, I know. And I was like, that's it. That's
Yeah.
why this is gonna be a great opportunity for us to grow, not only as individuals, but to help the people and the kids and the families that we
Mhm.
work with, because it's so fundamental to meet the family and the child where they're at,
Mhm. Definitely.
and that is the reason why we started Coach, right? So
Yeah,
let's
so go talk
what's
about We Coach
nah,
now.
you start.
So We Coach started. There was Now there is a lot of services and summer camps, and no school day camps. But before, 10, 12 years ago, there were many options. So you and I, we started. We're like, okay, we'll take the children. We put them in our cars and we'll drive them all over town in different, parks, beach, like we took them everywhere, and it was a small group. It was five kids, and the kids actually uh, loved being together. And so we talked to the parents, and we talked to them, and about creating a group to do things in the community with them. And discussing with the children is okay. We need a name for this program, and one of the answers was like, well, we're the group. So we
So
called the group the group.
that was it.
We called the group, and with that group of children, then we started doing the Thanksgiving drives, the Christmas drives. I remember we did for the women and children's
Oh yeah, like
shelter.
yeah,
We did turkey sandwich Happy Meals
yeah,
with
that was
toys,
so
and
cute.
and to see the them as individuals not getting help for themselves, or no, no creating an environment where they will be safe, where they actually were part of something and they were helping other people. They felt that.
Yeah,
They felt important. They had a role, they have a purpose.
and the families too,
And
because
then the
yeah,
families too, and the families seeing what they were capable of doing. So that's how We Coach started, just with the group first.
well,
And
just with an idea, right?
yeah, with the idea.
With the idea of thinking out loud,
Yeah.
which is why it all comes back to that. We
Uh-huh.
sat down and we were like, hey, like there has to be more. We do this in the office and we provide this service, me as an occupational therapist, and you as an acupuncturist, and beyond that, because you do more than that. And um, we're like, okay, how do we take um, these fundamental skills that we're giving the kids and we're telling the parents, how do you implement this? Go do this at home. They're doing this here. Try that. They're doing this. You should take them out to dinner. You should take them into the community. And the parents, with uh, truly, I deeply understand, shied away from that kind of exposure and that kind of risk of,
Yep.
utilizing those skills in an outside setting, because, what if somebody looks at me and, like you said, it's 10 years ago, 12 years ago, really, we
Yeah.
started the group. And then We Coach has been open for 10. And I think that was a big pivotal point in why we chose to do We Coach, right? Is that giving them the opportunity to really let those individual moments shine.
Yeah. So with We Coach, what we did is we created safe space for the individuals and their families to be part of the community.
Yeah.
And a safe space in which they were included, not just like, okay, here they are. No, they were involved in the activity. They were involved with others in the community. So it was an inclusion setting. It is when we do activities with We Coach.
We can't do it any other way.
Correct. When we do activity, it is they're always inclusive activities, meaning, okay, we're not doing things parallel to whoever, we're doing things together.
Yeah.
In that community setting. So that's what We Coach does and what We Coach provides. It provides a safe space for individuals and their families to experience new things in the community, to participate.
Yeah.
Correct.
Expand horizons. And like you said, yeah, the experience of the experience of going out to eat, the experience of, let's talk about our top 3.
Okay, go for it. You first.
Me first? Okay. For me, the group was a big one. And I think why it was the group, but really the food drive within that group setting, because we took it from the beginning, the idea that we wanted them integrated into everything, the whole process. We sat down with them and we said, okay, we're going to do a food drive. What food do you want? What do you eat at Thanksgiving? What should we get? And within all their different realms of communication, because it was a diverse group, it wasn't just everybody at the same level that could communicate all on the same
Correct.
page, which is really what we're about. It didn't matter, those 6 individuals all were at different phases.
Yeah.
And we sat there and we're like, okay, one did the writing, the other one did the talking, and said, okay, we need a can of this and we need this. And Other ones looked on the computer and they found pictures of what they wanted
Mhm.
to bring and they, showed it. And then we put the boxes together and we took them to go get the food, and they went and carried the boxes to the families. Like
Mhm.
they were a part of the whole process. And that for me was like, oh my God, we have to do this on a
Mhm.
bigger scale.
Yep.
Like we just need to do this. So for me, that was my big
Yeah.
moment. Um, I also really love our 21 social group.
That's one of my favorite too.
It's hard when you talk about top three to not include those kind of moments. But yeah, when we sit down with our 21 social and we do, for me,
Bingo night.
bingo night is my favorite
Bingo night
because,
at Maxwell, right? Yeah.
yeah, and putting that one chip down and everybody cheering for
Mhm.
that one chip
Yep.
is the epitome of what We Coach is about. It isn't about, oh my God, they're actually playing the whole game of bingo and somebody won. No,
Mhm.
they sat there in a group, did not matter what level they were, and one person put a chip and everybody went, ah, and we
Mhm.
ruled Maxwell's that day.
Yes.
We made the party.
Yeah.
And it's because they were able to be themselves and kind of really enjoy that moment. And
What
that,
about karaoke night
oh, okay.
at Spanish Marie
That
with
was
21 and
great.
over?
That was great too.
That was fun.
Yeah,
living
yeah.
living on a prayer.
Honestly,
was
that was
good.
great. I don't know what I did a song with. I pobrecito, with Tommy. Poor Tommy. He picked a bad partner. It's a really fast song, and I couldn't. And we were like standing there dancing, and we would go whatever the song, the lyric was. Okay, that's it. We did it. Okay.
Yes. And then I think a big one also was there were another two big events for We Coach. One is the transition conference.
Yeah, that was a big one.
Um,
It was a lot of work.
it was a lot of work, and the transition conference it was put together for the families in Miami. We had speakers, we had a resource fair. The actual kids participated on it, so that was a good one. And then the other one is the farmers market.
Oh yeah.
We did a farmers market, and on the farmers market, each family was in charge of one tent. We did all the product from scratch. The kids work the day of the farmers market, the tent. I mean, all the family members and friends they came to the farmers market. That one was nice.
Well, and the cool part about that too is that we did a practice farmers market where the parents came in, and you know, that was before ABA was such a huge thing. And the parent or the caregiver was the child's shadow.
Correct.
And so each child within their role, or, where they found their comfort zone, we gave them a role within the farmers market. And they came to the rehearsal and everybody practiced. So if you were picking up the trash, then your parent was behind, you had the stick, you had the
Yep.
thing, and you were picking up. If you were passing out the flyers, your parent was behind, and they passed out a flyer to everybody that was there that day. If they were sitting at the booth, we created tickets and values for each ticket so that we could have a variety of kids that could sit there, and no products was more than $5, and they had to collect the 5 tickets and count the 5 tickets. And so we really met the child and the family where they were at in order to really have everybody participate.
Definitely. So how is it that I think a lot of it when it comes to our practices to We Coach is that foundation that we give it a name to, which is MAP,
Yes.
right? So you want to explain what MAP is?
Ooh, well, I think MAP again was thinking out loud, where we sat down and we're like, how do we put this into words, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think the key component why we came up with that is because we wanted activities and tasks to be meaningful, age appropriate, and purposeful.
Mm-hmm.
And it took us a while to get to that acronym and to really pick out the words, because it wasn't like we were thinking, oh, age appropriate, it has to be these perfect boxes. But really, it's a starting point to really analyze what each kid, child, and family is doing on a daily basis and how it fits into that scheme.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay to have activities that don't necessarily fall into that, but creating an environment at home that has MAP integrated helps keep a balance and helps progress continue forward,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
I think it also, we wanted to um create that foundation, have something to fall into when talking to the parents as well, because of our experiences with that initial meeting with the parents or with new parents, or when we're in the community and in the transition conference, for example, we were there and parents were coming to us, and you see how eager they are to
Yeah.
help their children, right? But then there's so many things, so many options. I do find a lot of parents struggling with goal setting, creating goals that are attainable, creating goals that are not, you know, part of increasing that frustration into for their children, right?
Yeah.
Or young adults.
Yeah.
And so we sat down and we put together map, right, which basically is kind of like our values, or
It
you know,
is.
our points of view,
Yeah, it's our
or you know,
philosophy.
our working philosophy into something that it can be shown uh, to help the parents also organize themselves and to organize the family, because you know, when you have a child with special needs, you know, it's a family effort, you know, and seeing sometimes you know, parents coming to the office and you're like, okay, well, what are your goals for your child? And you know, it goes into, I want them to talk, and we're talking, you know, about a 10-year-old, a 8-year-old, you know, that they have no words, you know, and it's okay, let's break it down, and that's where map comes. You know, it has to be things need to be meaningful and purposeful and age appropriate for the child, but also when thinking about activity activities, daily activities for the children, therapies, you know, the providers that you're looking to work with your child, it also has to be meaningful and purposeful, and it has to make sense for where your child is at and where you want to get with your child. But you know, just expecting a 10-year-old to speak when a 10-year-old never spoke in 10 years, that by itself is very frustrating.
Yeah.
You know, if
I
for the child
yeah.
and for the family and
course.
for the providers working with the family, if that's the only expectation you have for your child.
I
So it's
think-
breaking it down.
I think a lot of that stems from too that parental instinct where they want to protect and
Mm-hmm.
provide, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And so um, they want to take on so much to make sure that they can give their child so much that the ideas get lost in translation, you know? And the focus isn't shifted.
Mm-hmm.
It's great. You can have a an idea of what you want for your child in the big picture,
Correct.
but you have to meet your child and your family where you're at,
Correct.
you know? And I think that that's big. And you whenever I see a new parent and I listen to them, you know, you hear a lot of anxiety and stress and fear and I heard this is good and I heard that is good and you know, I this new method and that
Mhm.
new thing, you know, and I really
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important to see what's out there
Yeah.
and to see, you know, all the different and new innovations that have come out that have really helped a lot of individuals.
Mm-hmm.
But like we started this conversation and what brought you in, and I know it's what brought me in, is that everyone is an individual.
Correct.
And so what worked for this child does not mean it's going to work for that one.
Mm-hmm.
And there is something so fundamental about that respect of the individual, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of what we see in the kids that we work with is that we not only meet them where they're at, but we respect where they're at, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And so, yeah, we have children that are nonverbal and that maybe they will talk and maybe they won't, but it doesn't mean they don't communicate.
Correct.
And
Exactly.
I think that that can't be lost,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And I think with the stress and anxiety and, I want, and the mama bear,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like I need to make sure that I'm doing
Mm-hmm.
everything possible.
Yes. And we see it a lot in our practices is um that families have the fear of, if I heard about this, if I don't do this, and this is what will have change anything, or give any little, and I don't do it, then it's my fault. And I see a lot of families getting themselves um, into debt financially and emotionally. You see um, parents ubering 30 hours out of the 24-hour day, ubering children from point A to point B to point C, D, E, F, and I think that a lot of it is, and I think that that's what we coach, and is, what are you doing for your child? Because at the end of the day, the child is yours, and it doesn't matter what the child can do with this person or this person or this person if that skill doesn't generalize a home.
Yeah.
And so yes, great, but so the driving around like a maniac, the parents being exhausted, the again, that financial liability, that stress adds up. And is the understanding that sometimes it's hard to understand that this is a very long journey, and it is a journey that has no end. So progress is progress, so there can always be progress.
And that too, I mean, I think that in life, like we're always constantly
Correct.
learning.
Yes.
We're always
But if
growing.
we hyper focus and try to like fix, or try to, this needs to happen right now, and put all your tools and all your assets and everything into that one thing, when that thing doesn't happen at the time that you're expecting it to happen, then what do you have left? So you wasted all your energy, you wasted all your resources, and you still have an 8-year-old. That means that you have another 80 years, in which that progress can happen. Because the reality is, one thing that we both tell our families is, you don't have to focus, and again, there is, different diagnosis, there is different, every child, you have to treat the child as the individual that the child is.
Yeah.
But so there's parents that they don't like to focus on a diagnosis. There is parents, the diagnosis does not matter. The name of whatever
No.
is happening
No.
does not matter. But strengths and weaknesses, and what is getting on the way of that progress, what is getting on the way of, does need to be addressed
And carry over.
and carry over. And there is not a time limit. There's not a time limit, but in order for things to move forward and to progress, change needs to happen, right? And that change needs to happen not only outside of the house.
Yeah.
Those expectations and those boundaries and those, need to be very clear at home as well.
And I think that's why MAP is that fundamental base of our philosophy, because with We Coach and with our own practices, um, we use MAP.
Yep.
We use MAP with the parent. We use MAP with the child. So when we tell a parent, look, I want you to work on this at home, I make sure that I give it in a meaningful, purposeful, age appropriate way,
Correct.
because I want to make sure that it's something that can be carried over. If I just give some random task, then it's hard for it to really integrate. Um, and so that's kind of how we're starting this process and why we're talking about, thinking out loud, because this is the way that we talk about the clients we have together and how
this
we
is
do
the way we
coach.
work daily.
Yeah. Okay. So the way that we want to continue this thinking out loud and talking out loud and working together with parents and families and the individual is to put these podcasts together and kind of share the ideas, but not only our ideas to you, but your ideas to us. So we have a poll that we want to throw out there, and anybody can answer. You can answer through any of the social media. You can answer us privately, just so that we can get an idea of what's going on out there, what you're thinking, what you want for the family, for your child. Uh, so let's see.
So the first question is, do you have current set goals for your child?
Ouch.
Right? And this is not okay. Yes, ABA is working on this, speech is working on that. No, it's you as a family. What are your goals for your child? And then are those goals, being met by, you know, everything that is happening around your child? And
Mhm.
are you pushing towards those goals? So that's one. Next one, do you feel that you are including MAP in your child's day-to-day life? Remember, MAP. Everything has to be meaningful, okay, age appropriate, and purposeful.
Yeah.
So think on your child's day-to-day and what's the purpose of your child uh, as a family member,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Age appropriate activities are activities that your child engage for pleasure, for leisure, age appropriate. Are your expectations of for your child age appropriate? Do they have a role? Do they have chores? And then purposeful. We all need purpose. That's, I think, as humans,
Yeah,
we need to have a purpose. So does your child have a purpose? Again, family, go ahead.
No, no, go ahead.
Family, participation of some kind in the community. So think of that. And then the last one, do you feel that all the efforts that you're putting right now into your child and your family are being effective? And sometimes we have to reflect into that because we get stuck in a routine and we just do things because the routine is already established,
Yeah.
right? So we have to take a step down and say, okay, are the 8 hours I'm spending in the
Well, but I mean, the truth is, no. The
No,
truth
but
is, it's a question, and the
Yeah, yeah,
question
yeah.
is meant, number one, to be answered and to reflect on,
Yes.
right? So that's the main idea. Is
Uh-huh.
let's really take a look at these questions and take a look at your life, and don't quickly answer yes, 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 because you are in many ways, but is it a balanced approach? Is really what we're getting to.
Yes.
Is it a balanced approach that's going on in your family? And so we want to have like a live conversation June 3rd, Monday at 9 o'clock, where we can Zoom together and kind of look at these questions and talk as a cohesive and see where you're at and how we can grow together as a community and help you grow as a family.
There you
And
go.
we want to
I,
thank you.
I say the things and then she smooths them out for me.
We want to thank you for joining us and listening. Take from it what you will. This is our daily brainstorm, basically. And Thank you.